You may be familiar with Jezebel from the Bible. She was a wicked queen of Israel who committed atrocious acts such as killing God's prophets and promoting the worship of foreign idols. However, there is also a concept known as the Jezebel spirit mentioned in the book of Revelation, particularly in relation to the church. Within the church there can be a woman who is considered highly dangerous, as Jesus warned. It is crucial to grasp the meaning of the Jezebel spirit, understand who Jezebel was, and recognize the teachings associated with this woman. This video aims to explore your questions about the Jezebel spirit, how to identify it, and how to determine if it is present in your church. Before we proceed, we kindly ask for your support by liking this video. If you are new here, consider subscribing and enabling notifications so you are informed whenever we upload new content. Let's begin! You may have encountered the term Jezebel spirit before, and many people connect it with sins like prostitution and perversion. However, the Jezebel spirit encompasses more than just those aspects. It embodies various characteristics that hinder the growth of the church and drive people away from experiencing God's presence. You might wonder, who exactly was Jezebel? In the Old Testament, Jezebel is regarded as one of the most wicked women. She was married to King Ahab and introduced pagan practices to Israel, greatly displeasing God. Jezebel, as a vile queen, promoted idolatry, murdered prophets, and influenced her husband to worship gods other than the Lord. She supported 850 prophets of the gods Baal and Asherah who engaged in abhorrent rituals that angered God. Jezebel's heart was so filled with evil that even Elijah, one of God's greatest and most significant prophets, feared her threats. In the book of 1 Kings, chapter 19, we learn that Elijah fled in fear for his life. He traveled to Beersheba in Judah and left his servant there. He then continued into the wilderness and sought refuge under a bush. Overwhelmed by despair, Elijah prayed to the Lord, asking him to end his life. He said, "I have had enough, Lord. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors." Nevertheless, God did not allow Jezebel's wickedness to go unpunished. He infused Elijah with courage, and he returned to prophesy that Jezebel would meet a violent death. Elijah declared that dogs would devour her remains, and just as he prophesied, that is precisely what occurred. According to biblical accounts, a man named Jehu killed Jezebel's son, which provoked her to confront him. In response, Jehu sent men to assassinate her. They entered the palace, threw Jezebel out of the window, and trampled her with their horses. When they went to bury her, they discovered only her skull, feet, and hands, as the rest had been devoured by dogs. Jezebel's actions against the people of God were so destructive that her name became synonymous with a powerful evil spirit whose primary objective is to undermine God's authority, particularly within the church. Regrettably, there are individuals in many Christian communities who exhibit traits similar to Jezebel. They deceive people and impede their spiritual growth. God desires to empower us to overcome this spirit so that His people can experience His blessings. But how can we identify whether the spirit of Jezebel is present among us? There are certain characteristics that may indicate the presence of a Jezebel spirit within your church. The first one is related to prostitution. In the book of Kings, chapter 9, it is mentioned that Jezebel was a vain woman who used seduction and unfaithfulness to achieve her own interests. In the Bible, prostitution encompasses both marital and spiritual unfaithfulness. When a person is unfaithful to God, they are essentially betraying Him. Jezebel engaged in both sexual prostitution by betraying her husband and spiritual prostitution by betraying the God of Israel. The Jezebel spirit infiltrates churches through individuals who are not living a holy life. Therefore, pastors and leaders must exercise caution in allowing people to minister before the altar. While we all have flaws and are sinners, those entrusted with church responsibilities should strive to live lives of holiness. For example, someone involved in the sin of fornication or prostitution is not prepared to lead and should undergo a process of restoration. This process should be approached with love and patience without publicly exposing anyone. Apart from the situation mentioned earlier, there is also a form of spiritual unfaithfulness. Some church members are rebellious and constantly seek out other communities where they can find someone who caters to their preferences. They hop from one place to another, seeking a church and pastor who will fulfill their desires. When they are dissatisfied, they create conflicts and undermine leadership. The second characteristic of the Jezebel spirit is idolatry. Jezebel worshipped idols and had a large group of prophets, more than 850 men who supported her in the worship of foreign gods. While we may not often encounter this kind of idol worship today, idolatry extends beyond physical images. It refers to anything that takes the place of God in our hearts, in the realm of gospel. We witness personalities such as singers and pastors who are admired more for their charisma and talent than for their faith in Jesus. This is where the Jezebel spirit operates, leading people to idolize these celebrities more than the Lord himself, a practice that God detests. The third characteristic of the Jezebel spirit is manipulation. Just like Jezebel, who manipulated her husband to forsake the God of Israel and worship Baal. Manipulative individuals strive to have things their way. They resort to lying, betraying others, and seeking revenge when their desires are not fulfilled. In many churches, the spirit of Jezebel enters through individuals who seek to control everything. Some of these individuals may hold positions of authority in other areas of life and bring that attitude into the church, treating others as subordinates. However, the church should be a place of love, fellowship, and equality. As the Apostle Paul stated in Galatians chapter 5, we must exercise caution when appointing leaders who do not treat their fellow brothers and sisters with kindness. Lastly, the fourth characteristic of the Jezebel spirit is persecution. Jezebel persecuted the prophets of God, forcing many to hide in order to avoid being killed. Some prophets even lost their lives due to her actions. Elijah himself faced threats from Jezebel. Similarly, in churches today, we can witness the Jezebel spirit when people are persecuted by their own brothers and sisters. In established churches, when a man or woman of God proposes changes, they may face persecution from both internal and external sources. External persecution comes from people or situations outside the church. This is a tactic of the enemy aimed at weakening the people of God. Jesus taught that a kingdom or household divided against itself cannot stand. Therefore, we must be cautious of those who speak ill of their fellow brothers and sisters or persecute leaders and members, as they may be influenced by the Jezebel spirit. While we don't have to agree with everything we see and hear in the church, God calls us to intercede and offer exhortation when necessary, rather than causing divisions or engaging in conflicts. As we saw earlier in this video, Jezebel's life came to a tragic end. In the book of Revelation, Jesus issues a warning to the church of Thyatira for their tolerance of the Jezebel spirit within their midst. Despite acknowledging their good deeds, love, faith, service, and perseverance, Jesus expresses concern because they allow a woman named Jezebel, who claims to be a prophetess, to mislead God's servants into engaging in sexual immorality and consuming food offered to idols. Although Jesus has given her time to repent, she refuses. Consequently, he declares that he will cast her into a bed of suffering and bring severe consequences upon those who commit adultery with her, unless they repent. He also states that he will strike her children dead. Through this punishment, all the churches will recognize that Jesus examines the thoughts and intentions of the heart, and he will reward each person according to their actions. If you come across someone in your church displaying these characteristics, it is crucial to pray for them, as they may be under the influence of a demonic spirit that needs to be expelled. However, it is important to exercise caution and refrain from engaging in gossip or slander against that person. Love should guide our actions, and as Christians, we should prioritize seeking peace. Many of these individuals are merely religious and have not yet encountered a genuine experience with God. They need our blessings and support. However, If the person persists in their ways and refuses to change, there is nothing more that can be done. The Bible is clear about the consequences of allowing a demonic spirit to dominate one's life. The psalmist wrote that the wicked will not stand in judgment, and sinners will not be part of the assembly of the righteous. The Lord watches over the righteous, but the path of the wicked leads to destruction. As we conclude this video, we hope that this biblical teaching has been a great blessing in your life. Thank you for joining us today. If you found this video valuable, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, may God's blessings be upon all of you.